Congressman Carlos Gimenez, who's joining us. Congressman, thanks for being here. The same people who messed this up, the Secret Service, the ones, or excuse me, the FBI and others, are investigating the situation. How are we ever going to get to some real answers here?
You're not going to get you're going to have to pull it out. It's like pulling teeth. You have to be a dentist and you have to ask the right questions. You got to know how these things work. Look, I was mayor of Miami-Dade County and I was an incident commander on a lot of big incidents, even dignitary protection. And so we knew what we had to do and how we had to do it. When you go there, and I was there, you can see right away that there are obvious communication failures, obvious failure of somebody to, take charge and say, you have to do this, you have to do that. You got to protect that. You have to make sure that nobody gets on that. And so, look, at the end of the day, I think what you're going to see is that this is a great example of Murphy's Law, people not doing the right thing, and then this guy just slipping through those cracks because Murphy's Law says everything that can happen will, and in this case, everything wrong that could happen, happened. And every step of the way where they could have stopped this kid, they didn't. Because of the lack of planning and the lack of communications and the interagency coordination. I think a lot of that was lacking in this case.
Senator Marsha Blackburn had also taken on the acting Secret Service director, and she asked him why the agency deleted an email sent company-wide by a whistleblower who was a Secret Service counter sniper. Now, the email blasted the agency for its taunting, which is CYA. He even predicted another assassination attempt before November. Now, this is a 20-year veteran of the agency that called for all of his superiors to be fired and said he would not rest until that happens. Congressman, I know you've seen this letter, but the Secret Service wiped the email from their servers soon after it was sent. Why the cover-up here, Congressman? What are you thinking?
I think they're trying to CYA. And they're covering their own behind, and there's some people, high up people that are trying to cover up their incompetence. And it happens in these agencies, and it should not be tolerated. That's a public record. Should not be wiped out. The American people have the right to see it. There's somebody within the organization, somebody who has good information that's trying to get that information out. And look, it speaks for itself. Whether it's true, false, or whatever, it needs to come out and needs to on this. Like when I saw what I saw, I'll bet you this is what's happened. Okay, I'll bet you that the Secret Service had their own command post, and I bet you the local law enforcement, except maybe the Pennsylvania State Police, were not in that command post. And so everybody who had the outside perimeter, and by the way, the outside perimeter was put in way too close to the inside perimeter, was probably communicating on their own. And then any things that they would take some time to get that word to the Secret Service. That's security 101, man. When you're running a big incident, all the agencies have to be in the same place. They all have to be talking to each other. They're not going to be on the same frequency because there's too many people talking. You have to have different frequencies, but it all has to be coordinated. Now, who said, a lot of people have been talking about the snipers that were supposed to be in that building next to where the shooter was. That's true. But if they were actually snipers, they're actually away from the window, and they wouldn't see that shooter unless they stuck their head out of the window. That's what I did. I couldn't see where the shooter was unless I stuck my head out of the window. Somebody had to tell them, hey, you need to stick your head out of the window. There's somebody up there. And I'm not sure that happened. I'm not sure they were even there because I also have information that says they were pulled away from that position looking for the shooter. And so, a lot of things just went wrong.
Congressman, I appreciate your expertise in the fact that you actually were on site and have looked at it for yourself. I'm still kind of stuck on the Murphy's Law aspect of your comment, saying that this is Murphy's Law, that, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It seems hard to fathom, and it's not very palatable to me, that Murphy's Law happens when you've got the Secret Service that should be among the most trained and experienced people when it comes to protecting someone and responding to this sort of incident. Murphy's Law is not palatable in my mind as a reasonable, just regular American when you've got these sorts of trained people. It almost feels like someone was complicit. Someone allowed this to happen, particularly after you laid out all of the things that should have happened.
No, I didn't. Look, what I'm saying, Murphy's Law says everything that will happen will. It means that everybody who needed to screw up did. Okay, I'm I'm not saying that anybody's going to get away because of Murphy's Law, but all those things had to happen in order for this kid to get on top of the roof. You know, the Secret Service didn't have a plan. The folks that were supposed to be overlooking really didn't overlook it all that well. And you know, there's a tower. Look, if you look at that video, there's a water tower there. All they had to do was put somebody up on the water tower. They would have a clear view of the entire site. They would have had a clear view of the shooter, and they would have taken him out way before, you know, he took any shots. But nobody was on the water tower. Why wasn't anybody on the water tower? That again is also a security breach. There's a ton of security breaches. Yeah. A lot of people messed up here, and this kid was able to slip through all of those mistakes and take his shot. Okay, and that should have never happened. How he got there? Because he was able to slip through all these people and take the shot. And there was a lot of reasons why that happened. Basic reasons, communications, I think, was messed up. Having nobody, again, going back to that command center and not having that clear coordination between the local, the state, and the Secret Service. Yeah. Not having a good plan. Not seeing the threat and how bad it was. There was trees between the shooter and then the counter snipers that were supposed to be watching out for towards the north. There's another set of counter snipers looking towards the south. They had a clear view, and actually they were the ones that finally took the shooter out. They had to be turned around so that they could actually see the shooter. Then here's other questions too. How was it that, hey, we're looking for this guy, and when was that communicated to the Secret Service detail of the president, who should have taken him off the stage as soon as there was any kind of threat communicated to the Secret Service? When did the Secret Service know? When did those snipers turn around? Because I've seen the video on that. They turned around. So who told them to turn around? And as soon as they say, hey, you need to turn around because you have a threat on the north side, the president should have been taken out. A whole bunch of stuff here needs to be looked at.
Well, we have to have you back because we're up against the old TV clock. We appreciate you, as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
so many
Congressman.
unanswered questions. Thank you, Congressman.